One day, I just decided to quit my job with no backup plan and just build Glaize. Everyone tells you how hard building a startup is, but it is just so hard. The Glaize journey has been very stressful. The turning point really was when the market shifted. Fundraising completely dried up. It's not obvious to the male investor. I owed it to myself and the team to just keep going. In retrospect, is insane. We got 4 offers. As soon as the offers started trickling in, you would see like spike number 1, then spike number 2, then spike number 3, and then spike number 4. And it just kept going up and up and up. The BBC posted all our clips on social media and we went completely viral. This is my first rodeo.
Who would have thought you go into entrepreneurship and be
Compete with a whale.
Welcome to Strategy and Tragedy, the show that talks about how to scale and fail in business. My name is Stephanie Melodia, and it is my pleasure to interview some incredible entrepreneurs on this show, sharing their raw and honest journeys to help you avoid making the same mistakes they did and hopefully provide you with some entrepreneurial inspiration. Now, just before I welcome my next guest, I want to say a big thank you to you right there, listening at home, on your commute, while you're pottering about at home or maybe at the gym, for tuning in to my show. I know that there are so many other podcasts out there, so it really means the world to me that you're listening in right now. If you haven't already, it would also mean the world to me to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on weekly episodes. Okay, on to my next guest. Gina Farran is the banker turned entrepreneur and star of BBC's Dragon's Den. She's the founder and CEO of Glaize, a tech-enabled D2C brand producing made-to-measure gel manicures that are chip-free, long-lasting, and vegan. Easy to apply, even easier to remove. Gina has made waves on the beauty scene, and I cannot wait to dive into her story right here on Strategy and Tragedy. Gina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So, from Goldman to Glaize, what was the genesis for Glaize?
So, when I was in investment banking, I never really had time to go to the salon.
Right.
And I would book my appointments on platforms like Treatwell, which are great, but I never really had time to go. And sometimes I would have to cancel them at the very last minute because something would pop up at the office. So I started getting really frustrated with the state of my nails, and I started looking for alternatives, whether it was painting my nails or wearing press-ons from Boots, and nothing really fit the bill for me. My nails always looked horrible. And so one day, after having spent 5 years at Goldman, I just decided to quit my job with no backup plan and just build Glaize.
And so you say this was just like one day?
Well, I mean, it had been bubbling up for a while, to be honest with you. It was more of an existential crisis in the sense that I started my career in Dubai. That was good. I kind of proved myself there. And then I moved to London and I did the same again. But I didn't really see myself becoming a managing director or a partner there. So it just made no sense to continue working 100-hour weeks when it was not what I wanted to be in 10 years. And so that combined with always thinking about ideas like Glaize just made me want to quit pretty much overnight. So I did make the decision overnight, but it had been bubbling under the surface for a little while.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so was that an external pressure? Did that come from parents or anything to go into a corporate career, given you obviously had a bit of an entrepreneurial itch that was bubbling away behind the scenes?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard, I think, when you come from a place like Lebanon. I've always been quite tunnel visioned in my pursuits. So growing up in Lebanon, I had an amazing family, super supportive parents, never lacked anything really. But it always grated on me that I was born in Lebanon and not somewhere else, because I just felt like I had fewer opportunities. And so I remember always telling my parents as a teenager, oh, I just want to leave the country. I just want to leave the country. And my parents were like, graduate from university and then go wherever the hell you want. And that's exactly what I did. So after I graduated, I went to France and I did my master's there. And then naturally, because my passport is Lebanese, I had to go down the corporate route. It wasn't really an option for me to build something because of visa restrictions. So that's how I ended up at Goldman initially. So it was kind of paving the way for me to figure out a way outside of the corporate world to then become a startup founder.
Okay, interesting. And not a bad strategy at all, I would say. I've had a few people on the show, some of whom are your friends, and we've found a few people we've got in common, who have come from that corporate career. They've come from a bit of a, cushy lifestyle beforehand. And, let's be frank, like practically speaking, they've had that opportunity to build up a financial buffer to make that risk seem less risky of going into entrepreneurship, right? So kind of worked out well for you, I assume, up until this point, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it definitely helps to build a cushion, which allows you to kind of experiment without a very tight rope around your neck in a way. So it definitely helps kind of remove the pressure. But at the same time, I would say that you don't want to be too comfortable, because I remember in the early days, I was like, oh, it's okay. I've got it covered for the next couple of years. I didn't really feel that pressure. And only when I started feeling the financial pressure was I like, okay, now I really need
to get my shit together.
Exactly.
I get it. I totally get it. You raise a really interesting point on that. Can I just check quickly, if you don't mind me asking, was there a number of months that you had saved up for in terms of your own runway while you went and launched Glaize?
Yeah, I mean, it was years, actually.
Okay, wow.
So because I started in Dubai, I paid zero tax.
Wow.
So I was good for like 4 years, essentially, pretty much.
Wow.
But I had to make changes to my lifestyle, of course, but I didn't worry about paying the rent or, the mortgage or anything like that for a very long time.
So on that balance between, yes, there are certain, privileges, things that you use to like work to your advantage, right? Like having the corporate career, building up that financial buffer, but then you need that hunger, you need some of that pressure, diamonds made under pressure or whatever this, Was there a moment for you in Glaize's short life so far that you were like, okay, I need to kind of light a fire under this?
For sure. I mean, I feel like the Glaize journey has been very stressful. And I think the turning point really was when the market shifted. So Glaize was founded when the market was at the very top.
In what year, sorry?
It was around 2021, basically, is when we started building. We didn't launch until we did our paid beta in 2022, and then we properly launched in early last year, so 2023. But I would say that when we first got things off the ground, it was quite easy to fundraise. I know fundraising is never easy, but when the market shifted, I would say like early last year in 2023, and the fundraising completely dried up for especially D2C brands and consumer startups, that's when I was like, okay, I really need to figure things out, because I might not be able to raise more money unless I prove certain things. And that's when I really felt the fire burning under my butt. So
on the fundraising, and you mentioned the fire burning as well, I think this is a nice segue into Dragon's Den that I mentioned in your introduction there. So did you succeed in getting the funding to share with the listeners? What was the outcome of the show?
Yeah, so we got 4 offers on the show, which was amazing.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So Sarah, Peter, Deborah, and Tucker wanted to invest in the business, and we ended up going with Sarah and Deborah 50-50. So it was a very, very good outcome for us.
Amazing. Sure. So what was that experience like? Was that something that was that always a goal of yours to go on Dragon's Den? Let's go back to kind of the start with that. Was it something that an opportunity that presented itself to you? What was the kind of the rationale initially for going on Dragon's Den?
So I'd never considered it.
Okay.
They'd reached out to us on the help email address for Glaize, and I initially thought that it was like a scam, because it's usually through like the researcher at the BBC. And so I ignored the first email.
That's crazy.
And then I ignored the second email, but then the researcher was very persistent. So I'm like, let me just look into this. Maybe this is real. And so I did. I responded to her, and then she just kind of strung me along and started asking me all sorts of questions. And then I was like, you know what? I'll just submit an application. They might not take me. I'll just see where it goes. And that's how it started.
Wow.
I wasn't actually considering it seriously, which in retrospect is insane because it's like one of the best opportunities that you can get as a consumer founder with a pretty mass market product as well. I don't know what I was thinking, but definitely I would do it again, like in a heartbeat.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was wondering how that affected your, I guess, fulfillment, like on the ops side of things with the business, because I do know other founders who have been on the show, I know some of your friends as well, and it has produced this massive spike in orders, in web traffic, as you would expect from a national TV show. However, given the fact that it is a physical product, D2C, I know some people have struggled to obviously then fulfill that huge spike in orders. And I think this is where there's a bit of that argument also for the organic growth and for organically scaling, so that it's just kind of easing off that pressure on that fulfillment ops side of things. So how was that for Glaize, given again it's a physical product?
I mean, we had very similar struggles, I think. I don't think there's ever been a company in the history of Dragon's Den that sells physical products that hasn't had delays. And for us, it was even worse because we manufacture our product in our very own factory. So we can't just double the orders overnight. We had to prepare for it. Now, the good thing is that when you're going through the Dragon's Den process, you film like almost a year before the show airs. So we filmed in May 2023 when we literally just launched. And the show only aired in March of 2024. So that was good in the sense that we knew that it was coming. However, they don't always guarantee that your episode will air, even if the outcome is positive. And so there was always this risk that we might overinvest in machinery or inventory and it might just not go anywhere. So it was a fine balance for us to try and kind of scale up without wasting whatever money was left in our bank accounts, because we were also in the process of fundraising. So we didn't have infinite amounts of capital. So it was very stressful to kind of manage that period and get to Dragon's Den with the right amount of inventory. And we have had a lot of delays, but I think what we've done well is to try and kind of manage expectations. So we had the delay messages all over the website. Some people don't read, so that's that's still an issue, and you still get angry emails. But it definitely helped manage expectations, and because the show is so well known and so huge, people expect there to be delays. So people are very forgiving. But you have I would say the 1% of customers that make all the noise that really kind of shake up the customer service inbox, basically. But everyone's been pretty understanding. We have had really long delays. So instead of shipping the products within a week, we've had to ship products within 3 to 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But we tried to communicate with customers by telling them, okay, if you've ordered on this date, then you're going to get your product on X date.
That's good.
So that helps.
And I mean, 1% isn't bad. And it's almost like success on social media. When I got my first trolls, I was like, yes, I've made it. Yes, you'll always get one. You'll always get these people who have got their own problems.
Yeah.
Just remember, entrepreneurs who are you're stressed out building your company, shitty clients, shitty customers are a guarantee they've got a problem.
Absolutely.
Not yours.
Absolutely.
Pick your battles. So I'm curious as well here, just on the Dragon's Den story, talking about managing your inventory, managing, the how much to scale up. How did you go about, really practically speaking, like how did you go about that calculation? Was it a case of this is the viewership of Dragon's Den, finger to the wind, this is the percentage of people who are going to tune in, this is a smaller percentage of people who are going to be interested? Was there a bit of that basic sort of funnel calculation you did to try and work it out?
We went straight to the source and we asked companies that had gone through the experience very bluntly, how many orders did you get from Dragon's Den? And we started building like a table. So this brand got 10,000 customers and this brand got 20,000 customers. Of course, it varies by product, by price point, by whether it's only for men or only for women, etc.
Sure, yeah.
But we kind of had an idea of what that number was going to be.
I wonder, sorry to just jump in here for a sec, but I wonder also if the outcome, the investment decisions, I wonder how much bearing that also has on customers' confidence.
Oh, 100%.
Right?
We could see it actually on the night. So we were screen recording the traffic analytics.
That's so interesting.
And actually, for the first, say, like 9 minutes of the pitch, it was, you know, a couple of curious thousands of people here and there. And then as soon as the offers started trickling in, you would see like spike number 1, then spike number 2, then spike number 3, and then spike number 4. And it just kept going up and up and up. So
That's
people
crazy.
definitely respond to the dragon's reaction. And I think how well you do as a business depends on how well you do inside of the den.
It's that validation that we need, isn't it? Like human psychology, you know, for intelligent beings, we can be really stupid sometimes.
Yeah, but also not really, because I feel like people are very discerning these days of like influencer marketing and, you know, hashtag ad and whatever. With the dragons, they don't owe you anything. They can destroy you on national television and it's just not going to matter to them. So I think people take their words a lot more seriously, and whatever they think carries more weight as a result. And that's what we saw, because we can't pay them. We can't, you know, like, they're not celebrity endorsers of the brand.
Sure.
And so I think, that's a very rare opportunity for businesses to capitalize on if it goes well.
It carries a lot of credibility.
For sure.
Interesting. Okay, interesting. And so how did the results compare against your estimate? Well, it was more than you expected because of all the delays, right?
Well, no, we always knew that we were going to have delays with the number that we had in mind. So I would say it was pretty spot on. The thing we didn't get right is that we thought it was going to be like a spike on the night, and then it starts to kind of tail a couple of days after. What happened with us was we did well on the night, but then it was like the Easter long weekend. So not everyone was tuning in on the Thursday night. So we kept seeing a build up on the Friday and the Saturday and the Sunday and then the Monday. And then it just kept going and going and going. And as soon as things started to taper off, the BBC posted all our clips on social media and we went completely viral on TikTok. And so the clip on TikTok had 2.7 million views. So that started the whole cycle again. So we did hit the number, but we hit the number over like 6 weeks instead of hitting it over 3 days, which from a fulfillment standpoint was a little bit lucky. The delays could have been a lot worse had we sold all that volume like
in
on
one
the
go.
night.
Yeah, that is impressive. And that's how I found you, actually. It was through the virality on social media. It's only now, in hindsight, we now know all of these connections that we have in common. But was it the most watched TikTok on the BBC account at one point?
I think so. I mean, there's like a big whale video that has maybe like 16 million views. So other than the whale, I think we're pretty up there.
Bloody whales. Second, who would have thought you go into entrepreneurship and be second place to a whale?
Compete with a whale. Exactly.
They are majestic creatures. All right, amazing. And anything else on the Dragon's Den story? Like, I've got into kind of the numbers. This has been really eye-opening in terms of the behind the scenes, the analytics, how it did for you. Is there anything else sort of post Dragon's Den? Has that sort of continued with that success, or what's kind of life been like for Glaize since the show aired? Yeah,
I would say the baseline of the business at the moment with zero marketing is a lot higher than it was before Dragon's Den. So it's not just a one-off effect, and even if you do go viral on TikTok, it kind of continues. I think you'd be surprised how many people just like take ages to make a purchasing decision. And you see that when you're growing an email database. Sometimes people join the email database like in December 2023 and they make their first purchase like in May 2024. Sometimes it just takes this long. So we are still seeing momentum. Of course, it's slowed down a little bit, but we're now clearing the backlog and are in a position to essentially start marketing again. So I'm really excited to see that, because what I've heard from other founders who've gone through the journey is that the impact of Dragon's Den is not just from the viewership that you get for free, But when you run ads on social media, they tend to do much better as well because they have that seal of approval. So really excited to test those and see where we land.
This is exactly what I was just thinking. I'm on the same wavelength. The startups I know have been on the show obviously then leverage that with the as seen on Dragon's Den, putting the logo on the website and all the social ads. So I'm sure that will give it a boost.
Yeah.
What was the pitch that sold it to the investors? I know we've got some of the product here today. I've got naked nails. I'm very keen to test out some. If you want to give me a bit of a demo and explain kind of the pitch while you talk me through it.
Yeah, sure. So this is what you typically get on your first order, which is our starter kit. And what's included is, apart from the instructions, you get the gels, which in your case are standard size because we didn't get your hand photos. And then you also get everything you need to apply the gels. So you've got a cuticle stick, you've got the pad to clean your nails with the prep juice solution, and then a nail file to remove any of the excess. And really the pitch is quite simple. It's hard to nail your nails at home because it can be quite messy to paint them. You need to wait for the nails to dry. And at the same time, salons are quite expensive and gels are not necessarily great for your nails. So Glaize is a solution that kind of ticks all of these boxes. So it gives you the look and feel of a salon manicure, but at the same time, it doesn't damage your nails like salon gels do. And yeah, it's super easy to apply and super easy to remove. So
something that I'm also aware of is that we all know that it's harder for female founders, right? Like we don't need to keep banging on about the doom and gloom. We get it. We know. We're trying to solve it. I just don't want to bring down like other female founders and just share all these like depressing statistics. But it's like we're aware of that. We're also aware of the fact that the difficulties in fundraising extend beyond female founders to female-oriented products as well. So what I'm curious about is, was there a moment during the pitch on Dragon's Den, or even indeed with any other investors that you've pitched to, where you saw maybe the penny drop or a flicker of their eye or something where you're like, okay, they get it? Because I imagine pitching to, I don't know, Tuka Solomon, for example, telling them about nails and trying to describe that pain point. You know, it makes sense that you've got Deborah and Sarah on board. Like they obviously get it. They've got more of that personal empathy. They can experience it. But perhaps maybe more for the guys who have got typically more cash to invest. What have you come up against there?
I mean, this is one of the biggest grapples, I would say, when we're trying to fundraise, because you first need to start with the education piece, because it's not obvious to the male investor what we're solving for. So when we were filming Dragon's Den, actually, the penny dropped when they could see Sarah's reaction to the product. So she absolutely loved it. And that just convinced Peter and Tucker to come in. And actually, Peter even said, I have no idea why I'm making an offer. I think it's purely based on FOMO, because he could see Sarah's reaction. And oftentimes, it's a very similar experience with male investors. They have no connection to the product. And what they tell me is, oh, send me some. I'll get my wife or my daughter to try it out. And then we have to wait. And then we're kind of dependent on the reaction of the wife or the daughter. So that's always a little bit frustrating, because you lose a lot of the USPs and the pitch points that you're trying to, it's
another hurdle, isn't it?
Sure.
We're already running twice as fast to get half as far, right? And I just recall Dipali Nanjia, if that rings any bells, investor. She's incredible. I recall hearing her speak on a panel, and she was just like, I mean, she's no BS, like great personality and stuff anyway. And she just used these examples of like, AI is the buzzword at the moment, right? Like everyone's going crazy about AI, LLMs. We've got space tech. We've got these deep tech opportunities. It's like, well, how clued up are you as an investor on these areas, or biotech, or, you name it. But as soon as we get into like nails or, I don't know, period pants,
female health,
anything to do with anything that's more of that kind of gender specific, suddenly it's like this light switch. Was that a surprise to you in the fundraising journey?
For sure. This is my first rodeo, so there's a lot of things that I've learned along the way that surprised me, and this is definitely one of them. But in retrospect, when I look back, I'm like, well, I should have known, Of course, they're not going to know if they've never gotten their nails done. What
were maybe top 1 to 3 other surprises that you've experienced in your first rodeo now with Glaize?
I guess everyone tells you how hard building a startup is, but it is just so hard. And I think that surprised me. I was expecting it to be hard, but just the level of hardness surprised me.
This is really hard.
Yeah, I do think we've also been a little bit unlucky with like macro events, whether it's the pandemic and supply chain issues or, the fundraising drying up just as we were kind of geared towards growth. So yeah, how hard the journey is, how hard fundraising is, but also just to kind of maybe end on a positive note, I feel like building a startup is almost like a journey of self-discovery. And so you learn a lot about yourself along the way. And that's been one of the most amazing things for me, because I've discovered things about myself that I would have never known otherwise if I hadn't been like testing myself to the limit.
Can you share an example?
Just how resilient I can be. Like the team always tells me that 99% of founders would have given up last year, because last year was a really difficult year for us and we were just trying to stay alive until we get to Dragon's Den. We were growing, but we didn't have the marketing budget to really do everything we wanted to do. And it was a constant struggle. We almost didn't make payroll for like 6 months in a row. And it was like every month to make payroll was a slog.
What kept you going in those moments? Because I feel like it's easy to say resilience.
Yeah.
It's an easy catch-all term. We know it. We all know the word. But in those moments where you're like, damn, I was getting paid so much money at Goldman Sachs. Had my office to go to. If I wanted a pair of shoes, I could go and buy a pair of shoes. Yeah. I didn't have investors breathing down my neck. I've got all of this stress and anxiety around paying my team. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I've got this silly male investor that doesn't understand the pain point I'm solving. In that moment, going into that dark place of like, I'm almost about to throw in the towel, what is it that you're telling yourself, or what is it that you do that brings you back up again and keeps going?
I just felt that it was such a lame time to just give up and throw in a towel, because I'd be fine with it if nobody wanted to buy the product, or if, I don't know, suddenly we realized that we could never make money at scale. I'm fine with that. Those I can take full responsibility for. But just not having enough money or not being able to fundraise, and that's kind of what kills the business, was not something that I was going to settle for, because I feel like I owed it to myself and the team and just our investors to just keep going, because I knew that this could work if we just got over that period. And I kind of feel validated now to a degree. Obviously, we need to kind of sustain the growth, but something inside of me just told me to keep going, because it was going to get better. And I know it's very cliche, but it does get better if you just keep going.
No, it does make perfect sense, especially if you have got that validation, if you have got the sales coming in, especially, also having a team around you as well, right? You are part of a team. You've got other people that are in the trenches there with you. Founders, budding entrepreneurs, I need to give a quick shout out to a friend of mine who's building something epic, I think, that you'll want to check out. Ash Phillips, founder of Rebellious Co., runs Rebel Meetups, an IRL community for the unreasonably ambitious. I love that term. These events are totally free to attend and a great way to meet people, build your personal brand, and grow your own opportunities while helping others. Head over to rebelmeetups.com to RSVP to an event near you. That's rebelmeetups.com, and maybe see you at an event soon. What was the first sign of validation that you were onto something beyond your own lived experience? This was a personal pain point for you. What was kind of an external market validation? When did that come, and what was it?
I'd say it's multiple points across the journey. The first one was before we launched our beta, we built a wait list. And we were able to build a wait list of 4,000 people quite easily and quite cheaply, actually. And that was the first point of validation, in the sense that people actually want this problem to be solved. And it's not just me that hates painting her nails. So that was the first thing. And then when we launched, a lot of the waitlisters actually converted, and we kept getting emails because it took us a really long time to launch. We kept getting emails from those people on the waitlist saying, when is this thing launching? I really want this product. I hate going to the salon.
That's amazing.
I hate painting my nails. I can't wait for this because this sounds like the solution for me. The second thing I would say is, and this is counterintuitive, sometimes if the customer doesn't necessarily get along with the product, the first thing that they always say in their email is, I really wanted this to work. And for me, I focus on the positive because I'm like, well, one day you're going to come back and you're going to love this product, and we just need to fix whatever isn't working for you.
Yeah.
So it's just proof that they are looking for something. We just haven't hit that mark yet. And for us, continuous R&D is part of our journey. That's why we have our production facility and our formulation chemist doing almost like bi-weekly rounds of R&D.
Wow.
And then the third thing was Dragon's Den, and just seeing the uptick in activity and how many customers just like came to the website and purchased pretty much immediately. Those are some of the things. And then the most important one is just seeing customers come back, because you need to build a base of loyal customers for you to have a sustainable business. And this is something we're super focused on at the moment, because we want to get to profitability as quickly as possible.
Incredible. That's amazing, Gina. I'm so pleased for you. I can almost feel like my heart physically swell up when I hear these stories, because I know how hard it is. I know firsthand and vicariously through working with over 100 founders in the past, handful of years. I know how hard it is. And so it's almost just getting product market fit is like this holy grail. It's almost like unattainable for so many people. So the fact that you've achieved it, you got all those offers on Dragon's Den, you got repeat customers. Obviously nothing's perfect. The road to it is very bumpy, and I'm sure there'll be more bumps ahead, but I'm just so pleased for you that you've got it to this point. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
I can't wait to try out the nails properly, which we'll do afterwards. Final closing, traditional question on this show. I know that you've already shared lessons learned. This is your first rodeo coming from corporate career. Is there one tragedy in your entrepreneurial journey that's taught you an unforgettable lesson?
So I'm someone who usually likes to look at silver linings. So even if there's something horrible, I try and kind of see the positive from that situation. And for us, it was when the market turned, actually. And we really needed to raise more money, and we couldn't. And it was a slog for 18 months, as I alluded to earlier. That really forced us to almost focus on getting to profitability as quickly as we could. And so we tightened the screws. We stopped spending on things that don't necessarily move the needle. And that, I think, is going to make us a much better business as a result, because the way we run the business today is very different 24 months ago, for example. We think about every single dollar. And I think the companies that have gone through this journey have built a lot more kind of resilience, and I think practices that will make them have better companies.
Yeah, makes total sense. I think there's two stats I just want to share on that to back up your point. One is, again, just coming back to the female founder piece, research has shown that female founders are a better bet for investors in terms of much higher ROI, largely because of being so much more lean and efficient and really doubling down on what's moving the needle, as you say. And secondly, also the different businesses that are coming out of this recession, which has been officially deemed to be now, it's where there's less of these kind of frothy, hot air businesses that are just gaining market share at all costs, will worry about profitability later, which always seemed insane to me. You're building a business business, you've got to make money, you've got to pay the team. There's only so long you can keep riding that wave of other people's capital.
Exactly.
So congratulations.
Thank
I
you.
love that silver lining, and just congratulations on all your success so far. I'm sure you're going to go from strength to strength. I can't wait to see Glaize even bigger and better. But for now, thank you so much for coming on the show, Gina.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you so much for listening. Really hope you enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Episodes are weekly. They drop every Wednesday at 6 a.m. So hopefully see you next time.